One thing I love about Hey Arnold is the emotional backstories of certain characters, such as Pigeon Man. I would say his self-titled episode was probably the saddest episode in the entire Hey Arnold series. The episode still makes me tear up to this day. In this video, I'm going to examine the story of Pigeon Man with the objective of trying to make sense of this character, his way of life, and his disappearance at the end of the episode. Welcome to Dial Up Digest. If you want to watch videos all about TV shows from the 90s and 2000s, subscribe for new videos every Thursday. The season 1 episode Pigeon Man starts off with Arnold using his pet carrier pigeon Chester to send a note to Gerald. Chester then appears flying haphazardly around in the sky before finally falling. This leads Arnold to realize something terrible is wrong with his pigeon. Sid then suggests Arnold take his pigeon to Pigeon Man for help.
Take it away, Gerald.
According to Gerald, the myth of Pigeon Man started way back in 1969 after a fire which drove a large amount of pigeons to find a new home. That new home was a rooftop where the mysterious Pigeon Man resided, isolated from everyone else. But he didn't just live among pigeons, he was apparently half pigeon himself. This transformation of his human character into a mythical creature, I think, shows how his mysteriousness was so unheard of that it was easy to imagine him as less human. Gerald goes on further and states how there were many other dehumanizing theories about Pigeon Man, like how he had a connection to aliens and ate worms like the birds that kept him company. The last theory was the most realistic. Pigeon Man was just a man who was lonely and wanted to be around pigeons.
But to this day, flocks of pigeons gather on the roof. And that can only mean that someone is caring for them. Someone known as Pigeon Man.
Arnold's friends agree that Pigeon Man was crazy. They interpreted his different way of life as a sign of mental instability, but Arnold didn't care and ventured out to seek help from Pigeon Man anyway. When we first see Pigeon Man, he's unnervingly very calm and serene. Arnold visits Pigeon Man unannounced, yet he nonchalantly turns to him.
You're going to keep Chester? And cure him? So, I'll see you tomorrow.
Arnold then shares his own personal experience with Pigeon Man to his friends. However, they still have reservations about Pigeon Man's character. To Arnold's delight, Pigeon Man successfully heals Chester. The two then talk and Arnold learns how Pigeon Man grew up in the area, went to PS 118 too, and had Miss Slovak as his teacher.
Is Miss Slovak still there?
She's my teacher now.
Pigeon Man then confides in Arnold about how he became isolated from others. He had a profound love of birds, which was looked at as strange to others, and ultimately drove them away. Then Pigeon Man confesses how it was tough for him to trust people after losing his friends.
You can call me Vincent.
Arnold tries to restore his faith in humanity by reassuring him that there are good people out there. Arnold then tries to reacquaint Vincent with life outside of his little world. Harold, Stinky, and Joey see this unusual sight and then came up with this plan.
You know what would be funny? What if we went over to Pigeon Man's roof while he's away and messed with his stuff?
Like how?
So the trio ended up trashing Pigeon Man's home. But it gets worse. All his pigeons fly away as well, thanks to Joey who was holding bird seeds. Pigeon Man and Arnold then return to his home and see the aftermath of the destruction. Arnold is surprised, but Pigeon Man isn't.
Who did this?
People, Arnold.
The hateful vandalism against Pigeon Man's home was a reminder to him of why he doesn't trust people. He didn't view the incident as an isolated event, but rather as a representation of how humanity has failed him. However, this did not tarnish the positive effect of Arnold's kindness towards him.
You've taught me that some people can be trusted, and I'll never forget that.
The ending of this episode is very controversial. Pigeon Man gives a moving speech to Arnold, announcing he will leave his home and vows to continue to dedicate his life to saving pigeons. Pigeons then assemble around him, lift him up, and then carry him towards the sunset. But where did he go? There was a fan theory that suggested Pigeon Man took his life, and him flying into the sunset was a representation of that. However, that theory has been debunked by the creator of Hey Arnold, Craig Bartlett himself. According to Craig, Pigeon Man actually flew to Paris. So the urban myth of Pigeon Man is a very tragic story of a misunderstood character who felt betrayed by humanity. When he met Arnold, probably the kindest kid in Hillwood, he experienced life in a way he hadn't in a long time. Pigeon Man's brief relationship with Arnold was probably the closest thing he had had to a friend in years. Arnold showed him how there was still good people out there, but after that unfortunate incident, Pigeon Man reaffirmed his beliefs about himself and others.
Some people are meant to be with people, and others, like me, are just different.
In the end, he decided to leave Hillwood and continue his mission in Paris. This episode is one of my favorites in the Hey Arnold series because it was such a heartfelt story that taught us many life lessons. It taught us about people's potential for cruelty, loneliness, trust, betrayal, empathy, and kindness. Aside from the plot of the episode, I also liked its calm and peaceful tone. The soft music of the episode really added to its emotional aspect. While the ending was sad because Pigeon Man was leaving his home, it was also very uplifting, metaphorically and literally. Pigeon Man's last words for Arnold suggested he wasn't depressed, but rather in high spirits. He was moving on towards better things in life and was encouraging Arnold to always move towards positivity as well. Pigeon Man was a character who had experienced heartache throughout his life, yet still found a way to stay positive and keep going. His story was an example of how no matter how cruel society can be or how misunderstood you feel, you can always find positivity and meaning in life. So with that, we are now at the end of my Hey Arnold character analysis video of
Pigeon Man. The end.
What do you think of Pigeon Man? Do you think his self-titled episode was the saddest episode in Hey Arnold history? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked this video, I'd appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. You can also find me on Instagram and TikTok at dialupdigest. Until next time, my friends, dialing out.